I'm very happy to have Naomi Aldort with me tonight for an interview. Naomi Aldort is the author of the bestseller Raising Our Children, Raising Ourselves, published in 17 languages. Naomi facilitates self-realization through parenting in phone and Skype sessions, workshops, and speaking events internationally. She works holistically toward a peaceful and powerful parenting-child relationships from infancy through teens. Her self-communication formula has been praised as providing the best of the work of Byron Katie and nonviolent communication combined, and more. For informations, CDs, articles, and videos, and guidance, and a free newsletter, go to naomialdort.com. Naomi will be in Switzerland and give evening talk on the 29th of September, and we are thrilled to have her for a workshop of 2 days on the 6th and 7th of October this year. Naomi, I'm very happy to be here with you tonight.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here with you and very much looking forward to being in Switzerland. You know that a lot of the people, I've been there before quite a few times, and for me coming back to Switzerland is also seeing people that I already know as well as meeting new people each time more people attend the workshops. So I'm very much looking forward to being in your beautiful country with your beautiful people.
Thank you. We're really looking forward too. So we are interested in hearing a little bit more about your work. In your writings, you say that children can behave well of their own free will. Can you speak a little bit about this now?
You know, to me, it's the most obvious. The problem is that when people do the kind of things that actually cause the children not to behave well, they think that that's natural and that it's so difficult. But children do want to behave well from their own free will. And we as parents make a lot of mistakes that actually take them out of that and confuse them and teach them all kind of struggles that otherwise would not be there. So what I teach is how to be with the child. It's not about some tricks or dogma to do this or that. I don't teach even one way of doing things. I teach a way to be that respects the child and how to know what they need and why they behave a certain way. So that when we understand the child and we're a true leader in the child's life, a true good leader creates a life where there is no need to give orders or to control anyone or to have struggles. When you're a good leader of a country, the country is peaceful and the people are happy. When you're a true leader in your home is happy and peaceful, and every member of the family, including the child, just flowing. The child has to feel that his inner voice, the autonomous self that is in there, because we are born self-determined, has a room to move on. But he also needs some guidance to know how it works in this world. But it doesn't have to be control when we guide. We have to guide in the way that I teach. We guide in the way that keeps things peaceful and provide for the need and educate or provide why we do this way or that way in a way that the child feels we're on their side. So for example, and that will give just a hint, a child wants to do something that they shouldn't do, grab a sharp knife or take somebody else's toy. We don't have to say, no, don't do that, or we don't touch this, or it's wrong. We can say, oh, I see how much you would love to have those blocks that this boy has. They're really nice. I know how much you would love to have it. And you give them a kiss, and maybe they cry, maybe they insist, and that's fine. And actually, if you did what I teach from the beginning, they wouldn't insist. That's the beauty of their own free will. Because when they always feel that you're on their side, that you said yes to their feelings. And that's just one of the many things I teach. You say, yes, oh, I see what you want. And because it's impossible, how would you like me to play with you instead? Or let's do this. But again, I also teach not to compensate so much, but to let the child also experience, no, you can't have those blocks. This child is playing with them. Unless they want to play together, of course, and sharing is another whole subject that I address in a different way. But because they should also do it of their own free will and not because somebody tells them that that's the right thing to do. While adults mostly don't share their homes, their cars, or their food. So it's beautiful to be able to raise children that we don't have to order around, struggle, punish. Every parent wants this. They just wish they knew the skill, and that's what I teach, like how you can be rooted in yourself and allow your child to be rooted in himself and understand what context and situation would allow the child to flow peacefully with things. Doesn't mean you give them whatever they want, but it still is a way of being where you are with them on their no, life doesn't go my way, or yes, life goes my way, but mommy is on my side with me through the yes or the no.
That's beautiful.
She understands me, or daddy understands me, and they're with me.
I can hear the concerns of some parents in the traditional Switzerland who would perhaps say, don't you think a strict upbringing would be the best requirement to master everyday life, because our kids have to deal with performance and pressure at school? What could you say to these parents?
I will address a lot of that in the workshop. It's a huge question. So I want you to know in advance that we're not answer all of it. But the world is the way it is because we have raised children strictly. There is roughness and competition and defensiveness and wars precisely because we have raised children in a way doing war with them all through childhood, telling them, don't do that. Don't be yourself. You're too loud. You're too this. You're too that. Stop it. So we're waging that war against the child. So then the child grows up and is attracted to ISIS in the worst case scenario, or just, doesn't have the best marriage, fighting with other people in their life. So it doesn't have to go extreme, but, we've been doing it strict for many, many years. And the result is not very good. It doesn't work. And schools are not any better. Schools are very old-fashioned, very controlling of the child, very disrespectful, and don't allow the child. And I will address some of that. In Vienna, I'm giving a full-day workshop just on addressing the learning without being forced, without coercion. In Bern, probably I will address it as part of the 2 days workshop, and maybe if somebody asks in the evening event, I'll do that. And there'll be also private sessions so parents can come and have their personal issues with me one-on-one and see what works for them, because for each family is different. And also what I teach is not necessarily not strict. In a way, it is strict in the profound way, being strict about staying loving, being strict about a context of respect for each other. So the strictness is equal for the child and the parent. The parent, when they learn with me, have to be strict with themselves to not offend the child, to not oppress the child, to treat them like they are. They're God-made, creation-made, whatever your beliefs. I'm not religious, but I have total respect to creation and the spirit. They're already a human being. They're not, we don't own them, and we don't have to shape them to be somebody like us or like some better of us that we think, because we've been doing that for thousands of years. And look at the world. It's not so good, the world out there. The other thing I want to say about this briefly is there are millions of children growing up in the way that I teach and variations of it this day. So the evidence is already out. They turn out so much better. They're mentally well. They're the most successful people. A lot of not always, but the most, when you look at people who are successful and powerful and make a difference in the world, innovators, creators, artists, they don't come from being good little boy and girl doing what they're told. They're the people who from the beginning have been respected enough, or maybe they rebelled and became able sometimes to really listen inside and to flourish as who they really are. And when somebody is feeling good inside, and that comes from succeeding to move from inside in the way that they're called for in their spirit, then they treat other people well. It always goes together. I feel good inside, then I treat you good too.
Mm.
And that's totally true for children because they're so real and so authentic. But I totally understand that fear. A lot of the clients who come to me come from that background and are afraid to move from control to this kindness. But I want to also reassure everybody that being kind does not mean license. One of the lectures I give is called Freedom Not License. It's in Brno in Czech Republic. And it's a whole day just about the issue to explain this detail that's very confusing to people, that it's not licensed. It doesn't mean the child can do whatever they want. Mm. It doesn't mean free for all and raising brats. Not at all. The opposite. Mm. What the result is that the children already as children are actually kinder because they treat us the way we treat them. That's how they learn. Mm. If we yell at them and punish them, they'll yell at us and punish us in some way and form that the child can. Mm. They'll struggle against us because they'll see us as the negative, the one who is not on our side. But it really, really works. That's the most important part. What do we want? We want the best for our children. So even the parents who are afraid to move forward, and I don't force anybody to, and I also don't force dogma like one way of doing it, but I help parents get in touch with themselves so they can do what they really feel is right, not what grandma told them or the doctor or society, and that they can make their own choice from a place of kindness and love and softness rather than fear. I have to control or the child will not turn out. And there's a whole section of the workshop that I cover all the anxieties and fears that come up and how to deal with that.
Wonderful. There is one aspect of your work that I find very beautiful, is how you turn around a little bit the way we look at the challenging situations with our children, and you don't look at the problem being by the child, and you often say the child is right, and this is something that has been a great help for me to see the situations with my children differently. When I remember the child is right, then I can ask, so what is the purpose of this behavior? And I would love you to say a little bit more about this.
Beautiful. You kind of answered it yourself, because you said looking at what the purpose of the behavior is instead of just canceling the behavior and saying no. So if my child is having tantrums, there is a reason for it, always a valid reason. If they throw toys all over the place, something is going on emotionally that I haven't addressed. If he hits his little sister, there is usually jealousy, upset, feeling insecure. There are emotional things. Doesn't mean you let them do it. Doesn't mean you don't stop. You're the leader. They don't know. So it doesn't mean that you don't come, but you stop them and you hug them. You don't stop them and scold them. It's like, oh my God, you're really upset. In the case of throwing toys all over the place, maybe I teach how to create some healing games, because the child is doing it as a healing game for themselves. But if it's not an appropriate healing game, we can do something else that's safe and can be seen as a game. So maybe throwing pillows around in a certain way that allows for the emotions to be released for the child, and speaking a certain way. And I teach that. I call that power games. It's in my book, and I recommend anybody that can read the book before coming to the workshop. You'll get that much more out of the workshop. But the child is right is like what you said. There is always a purpose, or I call it, there's always a valid reason for what he's doing or not doing. So yes, we sometimes have to intervene, but the way we do it is not with anger and not with stopping what he's doing. That's like Western medicine, just stop the symptom, but the problem is still there. So, if you break the red light of the car telling you that there is no oil, there's still no oil. So if you scare your child and tell him, don't express yourself this way, don't throw toys or don't hit your sister, he just feels worse and worse about himself. And as a result, will not have control because the valid reason is still there. You didn't address it. So what I teach is I give tools to how to find what those valid reasons are. Because once you address the cause, once you understand it, it's usually very simple to address. Then you understand the cause. Now the child has no reason to do it. So now they behave well of their own free will because there is nothing in them that drives them to do these things. As a leader, your job is not to stop the fire, but to prevent the fire, to make sure everything flows peacefully without fires. So it's a very big aspect of what I teach. And when parents really get it, like you said, it transforms their life. This by itself create transformation. There is a short segment of a video on YouTube that says kind of the same thing I just said.
Yeah, and I really recommend. There are a lot of videos on your website, and it's also a
the
good
videos and
for
the
the
articles. Yeah, there's an article called "Your Child is Like the Rain" that kind of addresses this as well in a fuller way. I do like that article, so I like to recommend it. But there are lots of articles there. So it's raising children without manipulation, but with total understanding, which is not license, but love and connection.
So today there are so many books and so many methods and blogs, and so many people claim to have the right way to raise children. And I feel it can be challenging for parents to feel confident about their own ways or about the things they believe are right. And also, I would like to ask you if you could perhaps address people who are wondering to come to the workshop. What is it that makes it worth it for people in Switzerland to come to this 2-day workshop in October?
Yes. Well, I think that there are too many books about parenting that are trying to fix the movie on the screen. What I do is help parents adjust the projector. Okay, because if we don't adjust who we are in the matter, our emotions, because often parents know what to do. They love their children so much. The child hits the brother or grabs everything out of the laundry basket and makes a mess or whatever. And the parent knows what to do and they can't. They tell me many times in private sessions, I knew I was just, being angry and ugly and scaring my child, but something in me I had no control over. So, it gives compassion to understand the child for sure doesn't have control over, back to the child is right, over their own reactions that are based on some valid reasons. So we're the same. We're human beings in a different part of our tour, our travel. So the way I teach is different than most books because I give tricks and specific things if parents ask for them in a specific way. But mostly I like to work on helping parents find their own way. Even if they prefer to be strict and send the child to a strict school. I'm not saying there is one way to be a parent. I've seen children who go to some strict schools and have more strict homes, but they really know their parents are on their side and they're really loved and they're really valued. And that matters more than whether you're strict or not strict, or whether you go to school or not go to school. So that's why a lot of people from different ways of parenting come to my workshops. I don't have one kind. Yeah, I have a lot of attachment parents and some people who maybe do homeschooling or unschooling. But I also have people whose children just go to regular schools or even to parochial schools, and they're strict. And they still can learn what I teach because I only give them tools to do what they believe is right. I don't like to share a bunch of beliefs. I mean, I share them, but I always say, this is where I come from, and you need to be in line with yourself. But we discuss what is more peaceful. We also have to think of the whole planet. What will make war come to an end? How do we raise children who see themselves as one with the world? Not just my country, your country, but us. Not my religion, your religion, but diverse world, and we're all one. So, I address that kind of thing inside ourselves, and how for the parent to not become an automated reaction, but be able to be peaceful themselves, deal with their own issues in a different way, that they come to parenting and they can actually see the child. They always ask me, how come you see my child so clearly and right away you know what they need? I said, that's because I don't have my other story about me and my reaction playing at the same time. It's hard to see two movies at once. So basically, it's really very context-like. It's very deep and powerful. It's not in a lot of lectures and books. There's a list on the board of what to do with this, what to do with that, what to say when your child says this, what to say when... I don't do that. Instead, I give you so many tools that you can create your own method, and it becomes a loving method that's in tune with who you actually are and who your children are, so they can be the best of themselves side by side with you.
That sounds very good. Thank you. You will be in Switzerland for almost a week, and there are possibilities to book sessions with you, one-on-one session, and also family sessions, half a day or a whole day. And I would love you to say a little bit more about how this looks like for people to feel free.
Well, the advantage of in-person sessions, I do a lot of sessions the way we're talking right now, internationally, on Skype, on Zoom, my phone, whatever people want, even answering questions by email. And that's always possible for people. While I'm there, the wonderful thing is that we can get together and eat with the children, so I can see what's going on. Even if at some point the children, grandma takes them to play in the park so we can talk. But I really recommend to do the whole family thing. It's all right to come without the children. I've had people come without the children, and the personal contact is always wonderful and has a lot of benefits to it. But doing it with the family, what I do is actually watch them in action. And I give them feedback on the spot. Like they're being with the children. One child grabs something from the other child, and mother wants to say, don't do that or whatever. And on the spot, I give her some tool what to do instead that works with how she feels inside. She doesn't want to just intervene and block one child and make the other child feel like a victim and hold that scenario, which creates struggle and jealousy. So I'm on right there, or whatever the problem is. It could be a teenager, it could be a nursing, tandem nursing with one child being demanding and it's hard for the mother to do tandem. So all the way to the extremes, or normal issues of 10 years olds, 9 years old siblings. So it's really, and what I do is we get together. If it's only the adult coming, I would probably invite them to where I'm staying. I think there's an Airbnb, some that I'm staying at, that I stayed last time, very nice place. And we can just sit in my room. If child can be there or baby and just in arms, that's fine. Child can sit on the side and draw, or we can go for a walk while talking while the child running ahead. Or we will be at Arco School. And Anya said I can get a room there, or we can be out in the yard. I'm very flexible. Now, in terms of the content of the session, I'm also very flexible. So I can't say it's one thing. It's whatever you want, whatever the parent wants. Some parents do want instructions that are already on my path. They already are totally into doing it respectfully, lovingly, as leaders, but allowing the child autonomy. But they want the specific skill. They want the how do I do that? So then we spend the time, with writing lots of notes with the how to. But for a lot of parents, the issue is, why am I reacting this way? I would like to not react this way. I know how to be loving. And when I am, because everybody sometimes is successful, or lots of the times, then it is working well. How can I prevent myself from lashing out or from losing? Or sometimes they see the child as wrong, and how I help them is realize the valid reason behind and help them to develop the skill to see that. How to. So I give them the self formula or the work of Byron Katie type and my own ideas, where how do you look at the child and actually investigate and know what is it the child is driven by. And when he's not driven by it anymore, that behavior is gone. So we need to understand. And all the way to small items, whether it's bedtime and food and breastfeeding and teenagers rebelling, or how they dress, especially the girls, and being worried about them, or how they play together, or how they learn education, developing talent, all the subjects, all the way from tantrums and crying and emotions to specific needs of a variety of different situations, including very difficult ones sometimes we have to deal with. And
that's also a question I had for you. Are there parents who come to you with severe issues they have with their children, and how do you resolve them?
They're always resolved. I've had children and families coming from Switzerland and from other countries to my home here on Orcas Island in Washington State, USA, that tried to break my windows in terms of the level of violence, talking about difficult situations, throwing stones on cars, doing severe things, and actually in the process even sometimes breaking something in my home. And we resolve it because at the end, it's not difficult situation. It's not difficult for me because when I see the valid reason, it escalates into this. Or I was in Spain with this family where the girl was 6 years old, but she was peeing in her pants just to punish the parents and biting them and hitting them. And, very extreme. The whole family were just afraid of her, including a 15-year-old sibling. It will just do whatever she wants because they were just so afraid. And in a few days that we worked together, it's been now 3 years ago, and no problems ever again. It's just because the parents stopped doing the mistakes that caused it. So nobody is difficult. And some of them, the healing is like this. I had a family who came also from Europe to here with only one child, a 4-year-old child, who they thought was the terror of the world. They've never been such a difficult child, right? By the first day, the child was fine. It was over with. By the time my husband came home and played with her so we can have a session without her, he came out of the room after he babysitted her for a while, and he said, "Why did these parents come all the way from Europe?" And I said, "Well, you should have been here in the morning when they just arrived. You would understand." But, when the child gets it, that the parents are not going to do this, what they were doing that caused the misunderstanding, then they're off it. They're young. They don't have years and years of doing this weird thing or behavior. So they're done. They're moving on. And then the parents were telling me a couple of days later, well, we're trying to catch up with our child. So yes, there's no real difficult, there's spatial situations and spatial need children and aggressive children. But at the end, it's all us. And when we cure the projector, not the movie, then the movie is fine.
Thank you. Our time is unfortunately going very fast, and I would like to ask you a last question.
Yes.
If you had to give only one most important goal in parenting, what would it be?
Oh, I love that question. So what it is to protect the child's ability to stay rooted in himself. Looking inside and not outside means I'm confident and means I'm living my life fully. Doesn't mean ego-centered or anything like that, the opposite, by the way, but we won't go into that. It's that confident in oneself that actually help people to feel free to give and to be considerate of others, because they're not constantly afraid that somebody will take away from them anything or control them. So the child who is rooted in themselves, and that starts in babyhood, it's like breastfeeding on demand. When I'm hungry and I want to breastfeed, my mom gives it to me. I can know what I feel. When I'm tired, I fall asleep, and my mother doesn't prevent me or doesn't make me go to sleep when I'm not, or doesn't make me sleep in a place I don't want to sleep, like away from her or anything like that. So there are all the details as young children, and then there are different details as they grow older, deciding what they want to learn, when they want to study, how, and it's different things in life, whether it's clothing or food. And again, be sure that I do not mean license. It doesn't mean a child can eat junk and eat whatever they want or gadgets or do all these things that are harmful to them. But a child who knows their parents are on their side and that all his life he trusts himself, they only want good for themselves. So we don't have to be afraid that they will do something bad, because if they have been experienced themselves as, yes, I can trust me, this is where I look for what to do in life, rather than like most of us, what will my grandma say? What will my neighbor say if my child screams? I will not look good. They will say that I'm a terrible mother. All those concerns take us away from our child. See, it all connects to all the other subjects. And that's where we need to work on ourselves, to not seek approval, but to be in ourselves, trusting our own wisdom. And that's the most important goal to keep for the child, to let them stay who they came to be, which is not up to us. Your children are not your children. They're sons and daughters of life, longing for itself. That's a quote from the famous Khalil Gibran's poem. So you want to be curious about who they are and nurture, water the flower. Don't force the petals open. So the flower feels rooted in itself. It knows what color and when and what kind of petals to open. So let children be who they are. And then that's it. That's the best goal. Thank you for that question.
Thank you. Thank you for that beautiful answer. So I remind people who are looking for this video that you will be giving an evening talk on the 29th of September near Bern, and 2 days workshop on the 6th and 7th of October. And they can get information on the arco-schule.ch. In English, it would be arco/schule.ch. We will put a small...
And also, if I can interject, if it's hard for them to remember, if they just went to my website, there is a list under events, and then when they click, they would get to that website, the ARCO website.
That's wonderful. And I want to thank you very much for this interview. And we're really looking forward to have you in Switzerland.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to that and to meeting people and work privately and in the group.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So see you soon.
Yes.